All right, everyone, welcome back to a Saturday evening edition of Open Shutter, and we are live from Halifax with Jonathan Norville, man. So thanks for jumping on this thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Sorry we couldn't make Thursday work.
yeah, no worries, no worries. I mean, is this your first time over there in Halifax?
Yeah, I've never been to Halifax before. It's my first time out here.
Nice. And you're there
Yeah.
for holiday, or what are you doing over there?
Who goes on holiday to Hal? Nothing nothing against the people of Halifax.
No.
But it's not a place I would think of for holiday.
Okay.
My wife is a lawyer and a law professor, and so she has a conference out here.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
And so, since I love street photography and just seeing new
Yeah.
places anyway, I decided I would tag along for the conference.
Nice, man. Nice, nice.
Yeah,
That works out well for everyone.
yeah, exactly. Being married to an academic does have its perks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we travel a lot, and me and my camera get a lot of
Yeah.
time out.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's the street scene over there?
I haven't really met too many other street photographers, to be honest. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're around, but I haven't. You tend to see people around at like golden hour or mid
Sure.
late afternoon, but I haven't really seen too many other
Okay.
people who look like they're locals with cameras. A lot of them have been tourists that I've seen.
Really? Eh? Everyone's from
Hmm.
Toronto or London. I guess you're from London, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
live in I live in London. I'm originally from the Caribbean. I'm from St. Lucia.
Nice.
Spent most of my early years there, and I left when I was 21 to go off to university. But I live in London now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So you left St. Lucia to go to university in London?
No, I did my first two degrees at the University of the West Indies in
Okay.
Barbados, and then
Okay.
I
All
met a
right.
girl. You know how
Nice.
that goes. I moved to
Yeah.
Canada. I did my MBA, and then here we are.
MBA in what?
Corporate finance and strategy.
Oh my God, you're smarter than me, man. Oh my God. All right. Okay. All right. That's
Yeah,
cool. Cool, man. So you kind of like in both worlds. Like you're like in like the academic world and also like the
yeah,
creative world too, right? So kind of like both
absolutely.
worlds, which is cool because usually people fall into like one or the other, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk some more about it in a bit,
Yeah.
but I uh, I have to. So I told you when I was apologizing for missing the previous
Sure.
taping that I have ADHD brain and I have
Okay.
fixations, and so
Yeah.
I go through these intense periods of just fixation on a thing, and to maintain my sanity I need to have a creative outlet, right? So
Okay.
for me
Okay.
it's woodworking, it's photography, it's these things that just allow me um, to just do something where I get to see the outcomes and you know
Right.
do a thing I love doing.
Right. Interesting,
Yeah.
man. So you do photo, you do woodwork, you do woodworking. What else? What else
Yeah.
do you do?
I so I get to the extremes of everything. So I started cycling during the pandemic, and then
Nice.
not only did I get into cycling, but because I wanted a bike and bikes were so hard to come by during COVID,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got into building bikes, and so I built
Whoa.
bikes. I built bikes for racers. I
Really?
built bikes for a guy who writes crits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Criterium races. I built bikes for another guy who's a model. Well, was a model for their name is uh, Pedal Mafia.
Pedal
Um,
Mafia on Instagram?
yeah, yeah. He did a couple of shoots for Pedal Mafia. He also worked with Le Club out of Montreal as well.
Really?
Um, yeah. He
I'm
was
sure.
front page on their thing for a bit, and he's still riding the bike that I built for him.
These guys?
Yeah. He did a shoot for Pedal Mafia.
Sick.
His Instagram is. I hope he has no problem with me sharing this.
I hope
His
not.
name's Dan. Just 96 Dan.
96 Dan on Instagram?
Yeah, Yeah, he's 96
Like,
Dan on Instagram, and yeah, just
okay.
96 Dan. Yep,
This dude?
that's the guy. Yeah,
Oh,
and he
oh, okay.
like he travels everywhere, does everything. But the bike that you see him riding there, that is a bike that I built for him that he's
You
been
built this
riding.
bike for him.
Yeah, yeah. Everything from like the
Oh,
selection of handlebars to the seat to the group set, the wheels, everything he's riding,
you
I built it up from scratch.
and you taught yourself this?
Yeah, I just watched YouTube videos and figured it out.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Wow.
otherwise, if I don't have creative outlets to do things, I will quite literally lose my mind. This is a way to just stay sane, stay focused on the things I actually want to actually have to do. Because
For work and
unlike,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I don't dream of labor. I don't dream of working, right? I just work so that I can do the fun things that I really, really want to do, right? And so
Yeah.
this is how I stay sane.
You use work to fuel your to
Exactly that.
fuel your outlets. It's a good way.
Exactly that.
It's a good
Exactly
way to
that.
look at it. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What else do you
Yeah.
do then?
Um, so those are the big ones. It's cycling, photography,
Okay.
and woodworking are the big
Yeah.
ones. I dabble in some web design as well. So I built websites for the African um, AFIELN, African International Economic Legal Network.
Okay.
My wife is a
Okay.
part of that network, so I built their website for them.
Right.
I built my own website as well. And then I migrated over to Squarespace because I got lazy. I didn't want to maintain all of that HTML code.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, so
It's
that
easier.
kind of thing. That kind of thing I do. Yeah, so that's the
Oh
migrated
man,
page to Squarespace,
great
and all
photos,
those
buddy.
pictures are just. Yeah, thank you.
Great
Those are all
photos.
just
Really good.
photos from my travels.
How come? How come?
Just
How come you don't have these photos on on your IG?
so I had some of them on my IG, but what has happened is I really, again, from my fixations, I went on my IG the other day and I
Yeah.
absolutely hated the layout of everything. So I
Right.
just archived, I had like 600 photos on my IG. I just archived all of them.
You got
And
like two photos on your IG now.
yeah,
Yeah.
I put those two up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some of the ones that were up again. But I just want to do them in a different order and maybe with some different editing. But I will get
Really?
my IG back to what it was. It's just I hated what it looked like,
You
and
just didn't like it, eh?
the only recourse I had was to archive everything and start over. And it doesn't let
Damn.
you rearrange things. IG
No.
doesn't,
No.
it's
It's
not
one of
it's not
those.
going to let you do that.
There's no plug and play over there.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So in the
Was that
meantime,
hard
it's
to
just
do? Was that hard to like delete everything?
it's not even deleted. It's just archived. It's I can
Archived.
unarchive them if I want to. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it just it felt less painful than going through and deciding, oh, I want
Yeah.
this one, I don't want that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I just
Of
did it.
course. Interesting, man.
And I have so many photos that I haven't even started editing yet. So photos from Ethiopia, from the Dominican, from Italy. I went to a Maasai village in Tanzania. Um, I
Okay.
did safaris at Ngorongoro and Tarangire
Okay.
in Tanzania. Just so
Wow, you've been
many
around.
different
You've been
places
around.
recently. Yeah, I get around a bit. I get around
You
a bit.
do,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah,
Um,
so those two photos up there. The one on the left is from Zanzibar, where we were not too long ago, and then the one
oh
on the
man.
right is actually from Ethiopia, from Addis Ababa.
I love how
We were
that girl's
just
looking
there.
at you. I love how that girl's looking at you,
Yeah,
and her friends
I
or whoever those are not looking. So cool.
yeah. I
That's so
was
cool.
that photo came about so randomly. Like so, I saw them. Stone Town is a bunch of little tiny streets. And so the four of them had walked past me, and I was coming out of this little alleyway, and I raised the camera to my eye, and I was waiting, and I was really hoping that at least one of them would turn
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And the girl that you see in the distance, who's looking back, who's looking toward me, she, I think, pointed out to them that somebody was taking their picture, and that one girl is who turned around, and I
That's
managed to get the
great.
shot of that exact moment. Yeah,
I mean, man, what timing that is.
yeah.
Worked out well, eh?
It did.
It's all
It really
it's all
did.
about timing, right? Especially for street, it's all about timing. Just gotta be ready.
Absolutely that.
Be ready.
Absolutely that. Yeah.
You never know.
Absolutely that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I like street for that. I I like the fact that um I I have the ability to capture a thing or a moment or a feeling that
Sure.
might never be captured in the same way again. Not to say that,
Yeah.
anyone can, and people can't take photographs of whatever. It's just in that moment, that thing happening, the likelihood of it happening again in that way with these people is slim to
Yeah.
none. I love
Of
being able to
course.
capture the
Of
moment
course.
that way.
Even like the lighting or like the time of the year,
Exactly.
like it could be all
Exactly.
different, right? Like
Exactly.
it's cool, man.
Yeah.
So like
I love that.
have you always been into like street photography?
Um, so that's a long story that I'm gonna
Love it.
make
Sure.
make a bit shorter. So I left St. Lucia, went off to university, and then traveled a bit. So my mom and dad are in St. Lucia, or were in St. Lucia, and so I would travel and take photos and send them to them. And so the first place that I went to when I left Barbados was to Geneva, and then I rented a car and drove from Geneva to Milan and to Venice. And so
Mm,
I would just make videos and photos and send it to them. And this is 2012.
right.
Um, and so I'm just, making videos and sending it to them and taking photographs. And my mom is a really was, because I keep talking about it in the present tense.
Mm,
My mom was a very philosophical person. Like, she could take anything and make it into a philosophical discussion. I remember, brief tangent. I remember that she visited me in Vancouver back in 2018, and she saw it was November or something, and practically winter, and the birds were just in a frenzy. They kept coming and going. I don't think the weather was cooperating, so they were not necessarily
mhm.
in their regular migratory patterns. And my mom came up with this like theory about how with these birds, as in relationships,
Yeah.
between friends, between lovers, between whatever, like not having certainty in terms of the weather not being what it was supposed to be at that time of year, not having certainty can make things confusing for people. And so I say this to say that whenever I'd send her photos and stuff from my travels, from the stuff that I would do, um, she would look at each picture and we just spend hours talking about like what these people's lives might be, what was
Mm,
happening in the scene, who these people might have been.
mm,
Um, and so that to me was like a passive exercise. I didn't consider it street photography at the time. I didn't even have language for that. But whenever I travel, the pictures wouldn't be of me; they would just be of what I was seeing. And so we got into discussions about that, and then on a random day in 2020, I get a call that my mom has died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, just
No.
random day in October.
Mm.
Not from COVID, not from anything like that. Just
She wasn't sick
pulmonary.
or she wasn't
She
sick or
wasn't
anything?
sick at all. No, she wasn't
Just
sick at all. Just
oh,
pulmonary embolism. Just she was there one day and gone the next. And
sorry, man.
so yeah, that's a brutal, grief is a brutal thing that I'm still trying to process,
Mm,
and I think that's sort of why and I'm getting to why I still do sheet photography. And
sure, sure.
um yeah, so after she died and died suddenly, I didn't get to say goodbye, like that's a terrible thing. And so I kept doing street photography, and the shift for me went from doing it as a way to share in the moment what I was seeing to like making the stories or saving them up to share with her at some point in the future.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, it's strange to say that you're saving up stories to share with a person who's gone, who you'll never get to have another conversation with. But
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
was just um, a way to stay in touch with her somehow, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
stay
yeah, yeah.
connected. And so a lot of the photographs that I take now, and through street photography specifically, they're all open-ended questions. Who is this
Mm,
person? What are
right.
they doing? What is happening in their lives? Why are they in this moment? And
Yeah.
all of those emotions that I try to cram into the photographs, those are
Mm,
primarily because I'm having a one-sided conversation with somebody who can't talk to me anymore.
So these
And
photos are
so,
all So these photos
yeah,
are all kind of connected to your mother in somehow, in
absolutely.
some
Yeah.
fashion.
So
Interesting. Okay.
all of them are just like open-ended conversations. There, so every time I see a person or a situation or a thing that's interesting that I figure, oh yeah, she would have loved to see that.
Mm.
Um, that's what almost every photograph that I share in public, or even if I ever decide to do a gallery show, every photo that I'm sharing is a photo that would have been a conversation
Yeah.
between the two of us.
Wow. What a story, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear
yeah,
that. That's horrible.
yeah. I mean, it's I tell people who tell me that my photos are great, or who ask me what my process is, and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I tell them
Yeah.
like it's not. I'm an accidental creative. Like it isn't creativity, at least photography.
Okay.
Cycling and woodworking, those are definitely purely creative outlets. But photography for me is not really creativity for the sake of art. It's like a way for a broken person to process trauma. Like
Mm.
um, when people ask, "Oh, what drives you?" Well, I am animated and driven by a profound sense of loss and grief, right? And that
Yeah.
is what present in my art.
Yeah. And was your
Yeah.
mother also a photographer too?
Um, she my mother was a hell of a woman. So she was the first in her family to go to university. She studied home economics, and then she became a school principal
Hmm.
in St. Lucia, and
Hmm.
she did her master's degree in education. She was doing a PhD in education when she died. She started this program in St. Lucia called co-curricular development, where she wanted to introduce students who were non-traditional learners, so people who society considers to have learning disabilities, but who just
Mhm.
learn differently. She introduced co-curricular activities. So alongside doing math
Wow.
and science and stuff at school, these kids would actually go and do agriculture classes. They
Wow.
would paint. They would do photography. She would
Mm.
ensure that there was some artistic outlet that these kids had access
That's
to.
awesome.
And so she was really, really into the arts herself. Like her students won model competitions and eloquence competitions in St. Lucia. And so she was really, really a huge, huge patron of the arts, and she loved art. She loved photography.
Yeah, that's great.
She took pictures herself, but I don't think she would have called herself a photographer.
No? No?
Yeah,
Really?
no, she wouldn't. She wouldn't.
Mm.
She is also very humble about things. She's like me
Mm.
in that way, that if she didn't think that she would be incredible at it, that she would not
Yeah.
claim the title of
Yeah.
being the thing. And so
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, she wouldn't call herself a photographer.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great, man. It's great that she was all about the arts too. It's really important, especially for,
yeah,
like, kids to, like, kind of feel
exactly.
supported,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Because
Yeah.
in my culture, and I don't think that happens in Canada, but in my culture, uh, kids take this thing called an entrance exam. So all of them at around the age of 10 or 11 take the same standardized test,
Mm.
um, and they get sorted into houses or into schools. But I was gonna talk about it like in the context of Harry Potter. But they get sorted into Ravenclaw and
Yeah.
Hufflepuff and all of that, except Gryffindor is where all the smart kids go, and Ravenclaw is where all the learning disabled kids go, and Hufflepuff is where, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
all of the smart kids are together, and all of the kids who are struggling are herded together. And so there's no there's no opportunity for scaffolding. There's no opportunity for kids to learn from each other, because they all have some form of learning disability. And
Mhm.
so um, her thing was that the arts were a way to give these children who had been told by society that something was desperately wrong with them, um,
Yeah.
an outlet to do something that they were good at and that they could see that they were good at. It was a huge morale and confidence boost. And so, like, she was big
Huge.
into technical vocational education. So a lot of that stuff was stuff that I got to see secondhand, seeing how it changed other people's lives too. And so when I had
Great,
my
man.
own mental health struggles and different things that I was going through growing up, because everyone has something wrong with them in some way. And when I say wrong, you're just, purely. purely.
We're all human. We're all human. We're not perfect, right? We're all
everyone
going through
everyone
something.
has something going
We're
on,
all
and I
going through
think,
something. Yeah, yeah, for
everyone
sure.
has something going on, and
Something
so
going on.
I thought, like, the arts, if it helped these children who were having all of these issues, and why wouldn't it help me process things or do things? And it's still helping me process things, today.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think it's always there. It could be you could be 110 years old and you still be
absolutely,
doing photography, right? Like
absolutely,
it's one of the
yeah,
great things. Like there is no like you can just keep doing it as long as you want to do
yeah,
it. There are no rules to like stopping.
yeah,
Like
exactly,
there is no,
exactly. And
it's great though.
whenever I look at photo books, or I look at work from the masters, people who are considered masters now, I
Yeah,
think that is the thing too, where it's just,
yeah,
um, they were documenting life, they were documenting
sure.
the what they were seeing at the time, and us looking at it 50, 70 years later
Yeah,
get to, yeah, we get to talk
yeah,
about it in the way that we do.
yeah. Who do you like? Who, like I guess who inspires you then? I guess.
So many people. So
Yeah.
I have a bunch of people who are current who inspire me, and I have a bunch of people um, who are older. So Fred Herzog. So when I saw, Fred Herzog's old Vancouver work, I thought to myself that this was a man who, um, understood color theory and understood storytelling in a way that I really, really wanted to emulate. Um, I loved his work. Um, yeah, and so Fred Herzog spent a lot of his time in Vancouver doing.
Mm,
He was a documentary photographer, and a lot of his work was taken done in Vancouver. Um, so I love him. I love his work. I love his use of color. I love, like, again, it's narrative and documentary storytelling. And so
mm.
you look at the picture and you have a question when you see Herzog's
Yeah,
work.
yeah. You're almost like a
Um,
photojournalist. You're almost like a photojournalist,
Absolutely.
right? Like,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
And I love that about him. Ernst Haas as well. I really liked Ernst Haas's photography. I have several photo books of
how do you
his.
spell that? How do you
Um,
spell his name?
Ernst. Yeah, there you go. Ernst Haas, first one. Yeah. Um, so I love Ernst Haas for the experimentation. So,
Mm,
um, he did just about everything. So there was no static form that Ernst Haas's work took. And so I have some of his, I have his New York work, and
yeah,
even going through that one photo book, there are so many different, um, styles and things that he experimented with that I just find,
man.
there are people who are just like, oh, you have to have a coherent body of work, and I just think to myself, um, coherent for who and by whose standards, right?
Right, right. It's very
Um,
subjective that
yeah,
term.
what
Yeah.
is that coherence supposed to even mean? And so,
Mm,
I love Ernst Haas's work, and one of my, like, favorite older photographers, I think he might be dead now,
okay.
is Gordon Parks. So, um, Gordon Parks's life is just, an incredible thing. He was a black photographer in a time where that was not really a thing. And he also said that he saw, one of his quotes that stuck with me is that he saw his camera as a way to fight racism, as a way
Right.
to right social ills, and he did not see photography as a way to. He said photography doesn't have to be a way to document suffering. That you can do other things with it. And I thought, um, documentary photography, and even just capturing people's lives in the way that he did, authentically, without necessarily them being in dire straits, or in you know in weird positions or whatever, because that's
Mm,
how a lot of black life was captured at the time. It was a lot of poverty or stuff like that, and he was just like, no, these people have real lives, they have real stories that are not,
mhm.
limited to that. And so
Yeah.
whenever I saw his work and just the authenticity of it, I enjoyed it. I think
Yeah.
his use of, composition theory. I think he's one of the best photographers ever to do it.
Yeah, man. Powerful.
Yeah, and
Powerful.
And of the contemporary people, I have so many, but two really, really stand out to me. One is Valandes, and Vuhlandes. Yeah. He does portraiture, but he does portraiture in Detroit. He does sort of gritty urban work, documenting just his neighborhood and his city, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So to me, if you would ask me to find like a current iteration of Gordon Parks and his work, I would point you to Valandes. And I know he would never accept that comparison. He would say that because he's also really humble, he would never accept that comparison. But to be honest, when I think of Gordon Parks, if he were to animate another body, it would probably be Valandes. Unfortunately, he has cancer. And yeah, he's having a really rough time with cancer, and I'm hoping, as so many of us are, that he pulls through, that he makes it. But it's just a tragic thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sad.
There, for anyone who's watching his YouTube channel, he talks about his life on there. You can look at his work on his YouTube channel, and I think there's a GoFundMe for him as well, to help with cancer treatment and stuff like that. So if anyone cares to, it would be it would be cool.
100%.
And the other person whose work I really love and who I gravitate, actually two more if I can. One is Faisal Westcott. So Faisal Westcott, Faisal Westcott, WES. There you go. So he is what I call a questioner. I swear to God, he's a questioner. So he does not have a static form, because what I noticed in photography, and especially because photographers have these hard and fast rules that they tend to stick to, right? So everyone's like, oh, you have to have a coherent body of work, you have to do this, do that, do the other. He experiments with black and white, with color. He experiments with light and shadow. He does a lot of reflection work, but he likes to do fine art photography in every single format he possibly can. And I think he has talked at length about why when he thinks about his work, he thinks it's unfocused. But I disagree so fundamentally with that. I think for as long as you're alive and you're a photographer, your style has to be growing, changing, evolving. And so to see the evolution of his work over time is beautiful. And if I could say anything to him, it would be like experiment more. Even like I would love to see what his work looks like 10, 15 years from now. And then the last person is Sean Tucker. So
I know Sean.
I don't know. I know Sean Tucker is an incredible photographer and a very great mind in photography, to be honest. There's a lot of bullshit on YouTube and on blogs and stuff about photography and what to do, what not to do, what to buy, and all of this. And people like Sean Tucker and Valandes are the people who cut through all of that noise for me, and who like getting into photography, it was just like the camera, the stuff doesn't matter. Here's the compositional elements to pay attention to. Here's color theory and color science, and like go out and practice until the thing makes sense. Like those guys are, to me, again, just masters of what they do.
100%.
Yeah.
Sean's a pretty deep guy too.
He is. He really is.
He's a pretty deep dude, man.
Yeah, he really, really is. I love his work.
It's great. I mean, there's a lot of influence there, right? Like inspiration, ideas. Like I think it just goes to show you, like, if people didn't know who those people were, it just shows like how much there is still to learn. Because
absolutely,
there's just so much out there.
Exactly. And everyone has, I think Apple democratizing the camera by putting it on the back of everyone's phone is one of the greatest inventions ever to happen. And I
Yeah.
think just people's ability to document life as they see it. And I
Yeah.
said this like a little while ago now, but that the ability to capture a thing that might never happen in the same way ever again.
Yeah.
I think there's so much that all of us can learn from each other in the photography space.
Yeah. Of course.
And yeah, those guys are just very, very deep thinkers about the work that they do, and so that
Yeah.
shows up in the art that they get to produce as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those
Yeah,
people also were very c- c- curious too. Like they're very
very
curious.
curious. Yeah,
They're very curious people, right? So they're
yeah,
constantly trying to, ask questions or probe or kind of like dig deeper. So I
absolutely.
think that's really key.
Yeah,
Just to be curious. Like you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but if you're curious,
yeah,
your work can
yeah.
really show that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think curiosity is, especially in art, is more important than knowledge of the thing, because I think the
Yeah.
curious people are the ones who experiment. Um
Yeah.
and I think experimentation is what is important to art.
Yeah.
Producing the
That's what
same
that's
thing
what art is
is
though. It
exactly,
is experimentation.
exactly,
Like that's
exactly,
why it's art. That's
exactly.
to me it's if you're just trying to do the same thing as everyone else, then
Then yeah, what are you
what are you like
adding
what are
to
you
the
trying like what are you trying to
yeah,
do exactly?
yeah,
Especially in
yeah,
today's world of TikTok and Instagram, like everyone's trying to
exactly.
they're trying to go for like social validation, but I mean,
Yeah,
this type of photography is completely opposite. It becomes more of like a photojournalistic approach
yep.
to it,
Yeah,
you know?
I think, man, with social media, I think, um and I think it was Sean Tucker who said this, but that the vast majority of people who are consuming media, and I know that might sound like a tiny bit elitist, I swear that's not what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah.
the vast majority of people that consume media on Instagram are looking for familiar visual cues from things that they already like. So
Yeah.
it is textbook. If you post one of those shots where the whole scene is dark except for one sliver of light and someone's walking
Mhm.
through it, oh my
Mhm.
god, that's 1,000 likes easy. The people who are experimenting with color, with light, and doing different things, like, those people aren't necessarily going to get the kind of attention that the popular photographs get, the ones that
Yeah.
the algorithm keeps recycling.
Yeah.
um and like, the thing for photographers to do, and what I hope more and more of us do, is to just be fine with not getting social validation.
Yeah.
Like, be okay with that.
Yeah. Of
If
course.
you're getting 1,000 likes on a picture that you've taken, it's because it looks like 1,000 other pictures that people also liked.
Right.
I like that's honestly how I feel about it.
That's a good point you raised, though.
Yeah.
That's a good point you raised.
You remember
Is it
that time where everyone had that one photo with the orange jacket under that
Yeah.
giant
Oh, yeah.
waterfall in Iceland?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how
It's that
many
one.
times did you see that
Everybody's got that photo.
reproduction? Everyone had it, right?
Yeah, I guess the question is, like, how are you gonna be different? Like, what are you gonna add to
That's
it? Or
exactly it.
how are you gonna be to me, it's like when someone sees a photo and they know that's a Jonathan Norville photo,
Exactly.
that to me is very cool.
Exactly.
That's a
And
Jonathan
that's
North
that's what
photo.
I want.
It's
That's what I
someone
want.
else's thing,
Yeah.
it's Jonathan's thing. To me,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, and to me, that's
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work to get to that level in terms of, like, just trying to stand out from the crowd, right? But obviously your work kind
Yeah.
of reflects that where it's like, "No, I'm trying to," like you said this earlier, it's like you're trying to ask open-ended questions,
Yep. Yep.
which is cool,
And
man.
if anyone looks at anything that I produce and come away with a question of any kind, like, where is this? Who are these people? Why that look on their face? Why did he use this color? Why is like,
Yeah,
whatever you come away with, I love that. I think um to come away from art with no reaction is just such a negative
mm,
such a negative a condemnation, sorry, of the artist. Like, if you come away from their art and you feel nothing,
yeah, yeah.
um just yeah, I want
Give me something.
exactly, yeah,
Anger, give me
just
something.
just whatever it is,
Give me something,
whatever it is,
man.
feel
Yeah, no,
something.
yeah, of course. I had someone earlier in the year on the podcast, and they
Yeah.
said some of the work they show, they don't
Hmm.
go to social media, they show in the gallery first. because they
Right.
don't want Instagram to be the first place where it's been seen.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
found that very, very interesting. I'm like, yeah, okay, that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I think the good and bad things about social media is that it rewards novelty, but it only rewards novelty once. So if you're the first to
Yeah,
do the thing, that is the reward of novelty.
sure,
But
sure.
it'll it will continue rewarding you for doing the exact same thing, despite the fact that
Yeah,
you're not moving or progressing anything.
no.
And so the
Yeah,
person saying they want to show it in a gallery first, I think that person is foregoing social acceptance and seeking out the curiosity of people who would see their work in a gallery. And I feel like
yeah,
that is the pure way to, again, no judgment to anyone who wants to do the thing any which way they want to, but I think an artist who seeks out the curious people to
yeah,
view their work is themselves like positioning themselves to be to continue to innovate in their work anyway. I think the dopamine hits from likes take away from our ability to be creative.
yeah. Yeah, and the problem is that we get so addicted to the to those quick hits of
Yeah,
dopamine. That's the problem.
exactly.
Or our brain just kind of like crazy, So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's kind of a hard cycle to break. But at the same time, like if you post it on social media and everyone loves it, it's
Yeah.
cool. But like how do you learn from the work? Like how do you improve on the next one? Like no one's telling you how to improve on the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And
no one's
yeah, Sean did say that. He was saying that the surface level interaction with work is where people get stuck and where their work gets
yeah,
static. And I
yeah,
think just which is why I love Faisal, which is why I love Sean, and why I enjoy Valandez, because Valandez, it's constantly arguing. Like if any of you watch his stuff, you'll see him constantly arguing with his viewers on YouTube, who question why he blows out his highlights sometimes on film,
mm,
because he shoots film cameras, who question why he does this or does that, or why he uses this camera or that lens or whatever focal length. And he's just like, I'm
yeah.
experimenting, I'm just
Of
learning and
course.
having fun and doing stuff, and it looks great because you guys keep coming back, even if just to hate it. The fact that you
I
feel
love
something and you're here, the fact that
come
you
to
feel something
come
and
to
you're
hate
here,
me. Come to hate me. I
come to
love
hate it, come to love it,
it.
come to participate in whatever it is. um i
Love it.
i love that,
What
I
a
really do.
warrior. What a warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this one artist who he would only paint like perfect straight lines.
Yeah.
Um and people, it inspired such rage in people that at one point somebody like tore through one of his paintings in a
No,
gallery. That's how much they
no.
hated it.
Man.
um and I think to myself, if I can, and that's not necessarily my goal to inspire such hatred, but if I can move someone to feel something so strongly, then that is my ultimate win. I feel like
Rip it
I've
off.
achieved
Tell me.
something incredible.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Well, you could be like the next like the next Bansky or something, man. Next
That
Banksy.
would be, honestly, if I could stand next to Banksy, that would be incredible. Like I
You
that
think
would
do
be
you, do you think
amazing.
do you think Banksy craves social media validation? I don't think so.
I don't think so. To be honest, I think the anonymity,
Well, that's what I mean, right? No one knows who
the
the person
anonym
is.
exactly. The anonymity is, it allows Banksy to enjoy the work and just the impact that the work has without it necessarily being attached to a person, right? I feel like Banksy represents a movement of consciousness more than an individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sad that so much of Banksy's work now has been co-opted by the very same
Yeah.
um, media machine that he was, I believe, trying to
Mhm.
to escape by making his art public in the way that he has.
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
but the work is the work, and I think you ask questions, you look at
Right.
Banksy's work and you come away from it different in some form or another.
It makes you think.
Absolutely,
It
that.
makes you
Yeah.
think for a couple of minutes, which
Yeah.
try to
And
get off your phones and think.
exactly that. Exactly that. And if you're double tapping on social media on Banksy's work, then you're not. That's like a short term interaction. Seeing it on a street corner in Venice is very different.
Sure. Of
Yeah.
course, man. Of course, of course.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff, man. It's powerful stuff. I guess, people that maybe live in like kind of like not so interesting places. Like how does one approach street photography if one lives in like a so-called boring place? Like, do you have any
London,
advice for people? London's
London
boring?
is a
Not really.
super. I swear to
Is
God.
it
Okay, before
really?
before moving to London, my wife and I lived in
Yeah.
Vancouver. So this is what I'm comparing
Right.
London to Vancouver,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
London to me is just a very boring place. I think
Okay. Really?
I think that the questions that you ask yourself when you are creating art inform the kind of art that you go out and make. So
Mm,
if you live in a boring place, like it's boring to you, right?
sure.
But things are happening in that boring place that no one has seen before in that way. There's a way that light will hit a surface or someone's face or a color or something that no one has seen in that way before. And so you just have to, in this boring place, look for sub themes. I have this book that I read. It's called the Street Photographer's Manual. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can find it. I have it saved somewhere.
Sure.
It's one of the first books that I read on street photography. I think the name is Valerie Jardin.
Okay.
Um, the street the street photographer's
You want to
manual.
share
I'm
it on your
pretty sure
screen?
that's what it is.
You want to share it on your screen?
Um, oh yeah, sure I
Present at
can.
the present at the bottom.
Present,
Yeah.
share screen. I don't think it's gonna let me unless I because you know
You want to send me the link?
Apple's
You
with.
want to send me the link?
Yeah, it's
Assignments?
it's street photography assignments is what it's called.
Street photography.
Assignments, yeah, and it's by just type Valerie as her first name and you should see the book come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Valerie goes through
This one?
like yeah, that is the one. And Valerie goes through so many different things that you can do to take interesting pictures. So it's
Interesting.
just a list of the different things you can do. So the first one is street performers and street portraits. So walk up to people and ask them to take their portrait. Do environmental portraits. So work a scene, find an interesting pocket of light or a mural or something, and wait for the right subject to walk through your composition. Street portraits with a story. You can photograph eye contact. You can do self portraits even. So she goes through so many of them. Let me see if I can actually share because I would
That's cool. I
love
like the
to.
sun star. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like
Oh
that.
yeah,
I
maybe it
like
will let me.
this. Will let you? Want to share it?
Is it letting me?
Not yet.
It is?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, one sec. I'll see if it'll let me share. Chrome has lost permission to capture my screen. See what I mean? It just won't let me do it.
Weird.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe I can can I send you a screenshot? Is that a thing I can do?
Yeah, I guess you could. Under comments, maybe.
Under comments.
Or
Yeah.
private chat. See if you can do it on private chat. I don't know if it's gonna let you attach something though.
No, it's not letting me do that
Yeah.
either. But yeah, so she goes through like 60 some 70 different
Really?
things that you can do as a street photographer. So
Damn.
silhouettes with sunbursts, rim light, shadows, golden hour, blue
Damn.
hour, from shadows into light, bokeh, night street photography. So just like if you are in a boring place, I promise you there are things to do
Yeah.
that are just not boring. And even just the process of discovering that you quite enjoy how light hits a particular color, or what golden
Mm,
hour looks like to you, or something of the sort, I find even that is going to make a difference in terms of like how you look at your
right.
environment. Just training your eye to see
Yeah.
fun things in things that you consider boring is
Right.
that's an exercise in and of itself.
Yeah. Do you think people are born with an eye, or can like the eye be like developed?
That's a
You know
that's
what I
a
mean?
great question. Um, so I think that art art can be, especially with a camera, I think art can be a thing that you learn.
Yeah.
Um, so if I were to, I'm trying to start this in London. Actually, I'm trying to start like a walk and shoot with people in London. Just
You
it doesn't
should,
matter
man.
what kind of camera. Yeah,
No,
it
do
doesn't
it,
matter what
man.
kind of camera you have.
Do it.
Just come through and do a
Do it.
walk and shoot.
Do it.
But if I teach someone the static 3x3 grid, and I tell them
Yeah.
to compose a photo, you need this light, you need this shutter speed, you need this thing, and then to have a composition that's dynamic, what you need is layers, you need this, that, and the other, and you have them practice that day in and day out, they will fail at it until they don't.
Mm,
And some people don't need to be told this at all. They just have it, they can do it.
right.
But I think that photography is an art that you can learn. Like, I don't think everyone can learn to paint, but I think everyone can see, though. And so,
Mm,
you being able to see in a particular way is something that I think anyone can be trained to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
And
gotta
some people
practice
just
that.
don't have, yeah, some people don't have patience. Some people don't want to practice, but I
Well,
think,
that's the thing. You need
um,
patience.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
thing, right? That's
Yeah.
you gotta
Like
be willing to look around.
I nearly cut my finger off
No way.
with woodworking one time,
Oh no.
because I was patient with everything up until that one moment where I'm using a jointer and I wanted something that didn't work out in the way that I wanted it to, and I did something
Right.
stupid and nearly lost a finger.
Oh man.
Um,
Not good.
and it's no, not good at all. But
Not
it's
good, man.
I say that to say that, like, the patience that you bring to the thing is likely going to influence, one, what your outcomes are, and two, what your end results are too. So I think
Yeah,
it's perfectly possible for someone who has never picked up a camera before,
sure.
just by being curious and by being willing to learn. I feel like anyone can
Yeah,
learn to
man.
be a good photographer.
You should definitely set that group up, because you never know who
Yeah,
like who you never know who's going to show up,
yeah,
and
yeah,
who
yeah.
that you just never know.
I have some people who have, because I posted about it initially in the London, Ontario Reddit group, and some people have shown
Yeah.
interest. But
Just try
when I
meetup.
posted about it,
Just try
yeah, I will try that.
meetup.com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll try that. But yeah, I think anyone can learn. I just think it requires some patience, and if you have a driver, or a genuine curiosity, I feel like it helps. It doesn't need to be grief and trauma like me, like, but
Right.
everyone has, if you have something that drives you, or a curiosity, I feel like there's something that'll keep you picking up your camera every day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It also
And
helps
it
when you
also
have
helps. No,
go ahead.
you go, please. No, no,
Oh, it
please.
also helps when you have other people around you too. Like,
Exactly.
if you have the
Yeah.
group set up and there's people coming out on every weekend or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
people, like, learn from other people, like, live in the
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
it's a different vibe,
Exactly. I
you
think so
know?
too. And I think, also, just, I know, everyone says the camera doesn't matter, but find something that you enjoy using,
Yeah,
and it, like, never leave home without it.
yeah,
Like, try seeing the world the way that you see through your lens, and then just keep
yeah.
practicing that way.
Yeah, you gotta be happy with what's in your hand. It's
Exactly.
gotta feel good in
Exactly.
your hand, right?
Exactly.
What do you
Exactly
use right now? That
It's
right there?
after I say all this, is going to be
Yeah,
super hypocritical to hold up
yeah,
what I hold up, but
I
this
love
is
it.
what I use right
I love it.
now. So
Banger, love it.
I was shooting, my camera setup thing was just trial, error, and experimentation. So
Yeah.
I walked into a random London drugstore. Shout out to Kalen at London Drugs, on
Halen.
yeah, Kalen
Yeah,
at London Drugs on West Broadway in Vancouver. Shout out
yeah,
Kalen. He
yeah,
was a manager of the photography place
yeah,
down there. at London Drugs, and I
Okay.
went in and I said to him, and this is like a couple months after my mom died. I went to him and I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to get into. This is what I want to do, but I don't know what camera brand I want to use and what I want to go with. And not that the brand necessarily mattered, but I wanted to make sure that I was buying into something that had that would allow me to do the stuff that I wanted to do. And I know most of them do, but like Fuji, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the lenses are cheaper, the camera's more forgiving, you have more dials, you can learn more tactile stuff with Fuji, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave me an XT4 at the time to use
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of days. Of course I had to pay for the stuff, and then when I returned it, he gave me my money back. But he let me try out the Fuji XT4 and a 33 millimeter lens at the time, and I found that was too it was too narrow a focal length, and also the Fuji, I didn't necessarily like the body. So
Right.
my hands are massive, and so the XT4 kind of felt really small to me as well. So I got a Canon R5 for a bit. That Canon's amazing, but the lenses are so expensive and so heavy, and so that didn't work out for me either. And then I got the Sony A7R5, and I actually bought that camera,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was fine with it, except, and again, to anyone watching, I understand how passionate people are about their camera brands. I swear I'm not talking shit about your camera brand. I think that the Sony and Canon and Nikon cameras have gotten so good that they're boring. They have
Yeah.
no quirks. They have like,
Yeah.
just if you know what you're doing, you will never miss a shot. You will never like, and it just takes the fun out of doing at least for me,
Yeah.
that's what it did.
No,
So my A7R5 did everything. Like I went on safari with it. I went everywhere with this thing, and whatever I wanted to do was done perfectly. And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it felt like I wasn't doing the work and the camera was. Um,
There's no challenge.
and
There's no
there's no,
challenge.
there was no challenge to it. It didn't feel like
Yeah.
I like if it wasn't compositions that I was learning to
Right.
do better,
Yeah.
then I wasn't doing anything else. And so
Yeah.
um, that is when I started falling into Leica. And of course, I had a friend of mine who had told me from ages ago, do not buy a new camera, buy like the oldest camera you can find that still works, and learn, how to focus, learn those things, because learning that alongside um, learning composition and these other things would work out well for me. And so in the end, I wind up doing that anyway. But I also don't like to buy things multiple times. So when I
Yeah.
went to sell my Sony gear to get the Leica, the thing I run into is that 1 year after buying an A7R5 and a 35 millimeter GM, it's worth less than 60% of what I paid for it.
Yeah.
Um,
That sucks.
and I hated that. But meanwhile, Leica lenses that are 30 years old are still selling for $2,500. So I'm just like, you know what? I will buy this one camera. I will never buy another camera.
Yeah.
And if I ever decide that I no longer want to keep it, or if I want to pass it on to my kids or to whatever, then
Yeah.
it's still an iconic thing that that they can keep or sell or auction or whatever. It'll be worth whatever to them if they want it. But yeah, that is it. I love picking this camera up every day. I never leave the house without it. It's small enough that I can just shove it in any bag that I'm going out with. And I really love shooting with it to the point where even on days where I don't want to go anywhere, I will take this thing and go outside.
Yeah. Convenience. Convenience.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great camera. Very frustrating, but also very rewarding. Yeah, just manual focus and
Yeah.
doing everything manually can be extremely frustrating, especially if hyperfocal hyperfocusing or hyperfocal planes are not a thing that you're used to. You're used to autofocus, and if you're trying to do precise focusing on a manual only lens, you miss as many times as you hit. And so when the shot actually comes out perfectly, I feel so good. But every time I miss a shot, the kinds of curses I say, I don't think I'll be able to say them.
But you feel like a photographer though.
I do,
But you feel
absolutely.
like a
I
photographer.
do,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I nail that thing, I feel this sense of accomplishment, and it
yeah,
adds another layer to like to telling the stories to my mom. It's just like I
right.
had to work to share this with you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it just it feels great.
I've had other people say that where it's like cameras are boring now.
They
Like
are.
like they're all the same.
They're boring.
I've had other
The
people say the exact same thing that you just said. So
Yeah, they are.
interesting.
And
Interesting.
I didn't understand, and again, I don't want to wade into the camera wars, but
Yeah.
I did not understand at the time why Leicas were what they were, and why they occupied the space they occupied for people, because
Hmm.
telling your friends that you're buying a camera that doesn't have autofocus, it doesn't have video, it doesn't do anything, the lenses are crazy expensive, the camera
Yeah.
body on its own is insane. Um, and then telling them that you're having fun with this frustrating thing is wild. But the thing that
Love it.
the
Love it.
thing that I got into, and that I understand now, is just like that camera. And I don't want to tie cameras to like artistic talent at all. That's not what I'm trying to say. But that
Yeah.
camera has given me more of a challenge in figuring out how to like make a photograph than I think I've had with
True.
any other camera that I've used before. Um, and it's challenged me to edit differently. It's challenged me to frame differently. The rangefinder is a frustrating thing to
Hmm.
use sometimes. And so it's just, there's a lot more that goes into it for me. And so when I get it right, it feels so much better to me.
Yeah, you're making a photo versus taking a photo. There's a
Exactly.
difference. There's a difference to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
that's what I use. I will say though, that nobody has to go through like five different camera brands before you find what works for you. Just
Just buy a Leica, you'll
find
be
the
fine.
uh, maybe not. Just I personally, I think someone could have saved me a whole lot of trouble,
No
and well,
kidding.
they did. Somebody tried to save me a whole lot of trouble. They told me
Yeah,
buy an old camera and learn how to use it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think just read books on composition theory, which is what I did, and then find something that inspires you to want to pick it up every day and go
yeah.
use that. If it's your phone, it's your phone. If it's
Sure.
whatever, it's whatever.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part sometimes in trying to find that inspiration.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
again, we're kind of going back to, like, I live in a boring old town. Like,
yeah,
when you live somewhere, it's hard to kinda pick out what's cool because you live there, you see it every day. It's like, "Well, this is boring."
yeah.
But you really
I
need
think
to, like you said, pay attention to, like, what's going on
pay
around you.
attention,
Yeah.
walk around. I think so. When I started cycling in Vancouver,
Mhm.
I got to see parts of the city that I never
Yeah.
saw. Because you leave your house with a plan in mind, right? Like you go to work or you go to the store, and so
Yeah.
you're in your car, you're insulated from everything, and then you go to a store, you go to work, and you go home. um, Even just riding a bike in the bike lane on the same road that I take to work every day, everything looked so incredibly different to me from that from that broader perspective. Sorry, because I'm not just looking through the
Mhm.
windscreen, I'm seeing everything.
Mhm.
And so the things that you think are boring might not be at all.
No.
Just walk
No.
around, look critically, and pick times of day where things are interesting. So
Yeah.
if it's early in the morning when the shadows are long and the light is a certain way, or it's late in the evenings, or it's at night, even because a lot of the photographs that I enjoy, most of the photographs I take at
Mm.
night,
Hmm.
because that's when the very interesting people seem to come out, is at night.
Mhm.
um, and so you get to play with different elements in your photographs, and
Yeah.
so
Love it.
the town's boring, but you don't have to be.
No. Well, I think that's key. I think that's well said is like, yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to be though. In the way you present
exactly,
in the way that you present what's going on
exactly.
around you,
Yeah, the town can
which
be
is
boring, but you don't have to be
yeah,
boring
well, I
too.
like that. You should put
Yeah.
that on a t-shirt, man. I like that. I like that. I like that phrase. That's a pretty cool. You should copyright that one. That's actually pretty good.
I probably should. I probably
I
should.
like that one, man.
Yeah.
Do you have any other trips lined up after Halifax?
Uh, so I think next January, my wife's going to Oxford
Yeah.
for another conference, and
You
so
going?
I will go to Oxford in January.
Nice.
Um, and I spent some of my childhood in the UK, so
Yeah.
a few years of mine were spent in Huddersfield in West Yorkshire.
Hmm.
And so I want to go back up there and visit some people, drive along the A1 or the
Yeah.
M1, and
Yeah.
take as many pictures as I can. Stop in every small town I can. We're planning to go to Portugal.
Beautiful.
I haven't been to Porto or
Yeah.
Lisbon
Yeah.
yet, so I want to go to those cities. And then in the summer, my wife is intent on wanting to go back to Italy, but I think the south of Spain is also a great place
Yeah.
to visit. We haven't been there together either, so
Okay.
we'll wind up either in Spain or in Italy in the summer.
Well, those are both good choices.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot go wrong. You cannot
Those
go
are both
wrong
good
with either of
choices.
those.
I
You
love it.
can't go wrong with either of those choices.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
hard.
just yeah,
It's
just
hard.
YYZ deals, man. That's
YYZ deals? Is that your trick? Is that your
yeah,
trick?
YYZ deals is
Yeah,
where
they
all
got
the
some good fares up there. They got
oh,
some
all
good
the good
fares.
fares. That's where all the good fares are. Is YYZ deals
I
or
gotta check.
whatever your airport code is. Put deals after it and see what you come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what,
yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
fly like the next day, or like how far in advance are
No,
you
no,
checking?
like the flights are any if you want, can you pull it up maybe so your people can
Yeah.
see
Okay.
it?
Let me pull it
Just
up.
what?
Let's see where we can go, man. Let's see
Yeah,
where we can
just
go.
YYZ deals, and you fly out of Toronto, and you could go to Asia, you can go to Costa Rica, you can go to a number of different places, and
Oh,
some of the fares are even going to be business class for dirt cheap too. So
what?
yeah, so if you scroll down and um, you'll see Toronto to Dublin for 415,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Toronto to Guayaquil or Quito for 389, including taxes and everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so if you just
Okay.
click the read more section, it'll tell you when to book. Um, well, once the ad's gone, but it'll tell you when to book. October is when you have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some where they tell you the
Oh,
exact dates when you should go. And so you
cool.
get to and where to go try booking the flights, and that
Got
that
it.
really does help. You can do Istanbul for 681. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you can go to Morocco if you scroll up a little. You can go to Morocco for 675 round trip, including taxes.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, with you know,
Crazy.
and
Carry
so
on chew check packs are included? Okay.
yep,
Okay.
I love that. I love that so much. That is what I use to travel.
Well, these are good tips, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, now like the summer is over, like you feel like there's gonna be a lot of deals prior to
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
Christmas and all that,
Oh yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like this period between now and like Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. I think like I mean another random tip for people is just like
Yeah.
if you want to travel, the off season is a great time to do it.
Yeah.
Like go to Italy when it's not super warm, and
Yeah. Less tourists,
you get to have all the fun
less people around.
with very few
Huge.
people. The locals are a lot less annoyed when you go when it's quiet. You know what I mean? Like people are more willing to interact with you when they're not inundated with tourists in their
Yeah.
town every day.
Of course.
Um,
Imagine.
and just take your camera everywhere. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether you're driving to visit your cousin or whatever. There has to be
Yeah.
something fun that you see somewhere.
Oh,
There's a
100%.
patch of grass that's different. You know what I mean? You,
Italian
you'll
grass,
find,
it's different.
yeah, you'll
This
find
is
a patch
different
of
grass,
grass that's
grass. Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what's like your dream, like your dream destination then?
Italy, Italy.
That's your
So
dream
so
destination? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So my wife and I have been there several times together over the
Okay.
years, and it's a place that we both love so much.
Yeah.
And it's because you get to experience like even just traveling from one part of the country to another, you get to
Yeah.
experience so many different cultures. So going from Turin to Genoa to Milan to Bellagio, for example, like these places are in the same general region, but the food is slightly different. The inflections in the way people
Mhm.
speak Italian is different.
Mhm.
The topography is different. The way the buildings were built is different. And
Oh.
I mean, I'm a student of history, as well, and so I remember reading about Cesare Borgia going through and uniting Italy and all of the different principalities, and so you can go from one town in Italy to another, and it feels like you're in a whole different country.
Yeah.
Um, and just the beaches and the beach towns are to die for. So Sorrento, Positano, the Amalfi
Yeah.
Coast. Um, It's just gorgeous. There's no place in that country you can go
No,
that's ugly. There's no
no.
place you can go that the food's not amazing.
Yeah,
So why not?
I
If
know.
I could, like, no restrictions whatsoever. If I could go and live anywhere in the world, it would probably be, I'd spend most of my time in Italy.
Yeah, man. Can't go wrong with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
It's a slower pace of life too, right?
Absolutely. I love that.
And they got good coffee. They got good
They
espresso.
have it. My wife is from
Coffee's good.
Eritrea, so
Yeah,
she would contest that Italy has the best coffee. She would
it's
say
pretty good.
Eritrea and Ethiopia do.
Close? Are they close?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She would say that
Yeah.
the Italians stole their coffee ideas from
Oh
Ethiopia and
no.
Eritrea.
Oh no. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great spot, man. Love it.
yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, we're up against the hour, so I assume you're going out now to take photos in Halifax.
I will go back out soon.
Yeah.
I have dinner plans with my wife at some point.
Okay.
Coming up soon too.
Okay.
But
All
I
right.
will. Yeah, it's been a blast talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on. And let's stay in touch. If you're ever out my way, just
I should come
give me a
out to
shout.
London, man. I take some
You
photos. You can show
should.
me what London's all about, man.
Yeah, I'll show you. You know, we can do a vlog or something of
Yeah. Oh,
taking
why
interesting
not?
pictures in a
Let's do
boring
it.
town.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'm all
All
about it.
right.
Do you have any final advice for the people out there?
If you are interested in photography of any kind, it doesn't matter what your style is, what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you want to do. Just grab your phone, turn on the grid, go outside, take some pictures.
Yeah.
There are books on just about everything. I read books on composition theory. I read books on color theory. If you want, just reach out to me. You can use my website, which Paul
Mhm.
showed up earlier, or you can follow me on Instagram
Yeah.
at Nicodoniac. And I will share the books that I have read with you. If you want to come shoot with me, feel free. Whatever you have access to, use it. Go take some photos. And if you keep doing it, you will get very good at it. And yeah, if that is a passion of yours, if that's something you have interest in, then do that. And also, don't post your stuff on Instagram expecting that you're gonna get dopamine hits from it. Don't post your stuff on social media of any kind and judge whether it's good or not by how many people like it. That's the easiest way to give up on doing this thing altogether.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the advice. Just have
Well
fun doing
said.
it, and if you want to buy a camera, please, for the love of God, do not go to YouTube looking for camera reviews. Like, just they will convince you that the most expensive,
Yeah.
the
Well,
most
because they're paid to
cutting
say that.
edge,
They're paid to say that.
exactly. They'll convince you that the most expensive, the most cutting edge. They'll tell you about bokeh balls and all this other crap that in real life doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just go into a local camera store, talk to the people there, make friends, and like see what you see. Stay off of YouTube, except for watching Paul. Like,
Obviously,
don't
naturally.
exactly.
No, that's good. Well said.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
All right.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Everyone, thanks for watching, listening, wherever this thing is. Go check out Jonathan. Links are below in the description of this podcast, and stay tuned for a vlog from London. So
Cheers. Thanks for
that's all
having
I
me
gotta
on,
say.
Paul.
All right, have a great time in Halifax, eh?
Thank you very much,
Safe
mate.
travels. All right,
Cheers. Bye.
peace.